So, good afternoon, everybody. And how wonderful to see you all here. Thank you very much for being here. Can you all hear me? Okay, so the audio is fine in the room. For those of you that come up to read, and I'll just say this now, we have two microphones up here. So this one here is for the sound in the room, and this one is for the video recording, or the audio and the video recording. So we are recording, and the recording has started, so it's in progress. And the event will be up on the Leading Library YouTube channel in a couple of weeks after the reading. So thank you for being here. We are celebrating, as you know, Black History Month in February. And so we're going to do that today with a poetry reading. And there are a lot of demands on our time. There's a lot of things we could be doing, and you're choosing to spend that here celebrating Black History Month, reading poetry, hearing Emmett. So thank you for doing that. I also want to welcome all of you who are on the Zoom recording. So if you were able to log in, thank you very much for being here. And I hope the sound and everything is good from your vantage point. But the same is true for you. There's a lot of demands on your time. And so we're thankful that you joined us today. We have a great poet who I'm going to introduce in just a few minutes. Let me make some thanks first and say a few things about events coming up. Thanks to the city of Milwaukee. We have been supported from the city by the city of Milwaukee from the beginning. We're in our 17th season. I was just talking about that a little bit before the reading. So we have a big thanks to the city of Milwaukee. Secondly, a thanks to the Leading Library. So we are here. This is we were originally in the Pond House for about 12 years, I think. Loved it. But this is a beautiful new library. So we are very happy about that. A big thanks to the Leading Library. Thanks to the Milwaukie Poetry Series Committee. So there are a couple of us here today, and I want to thank Kristen Roeder, who is here, and she's going to be overseeing the video that we're doing. So thank you very much for doing that. My lovely wife Jane is here, and so she's prepared the refreshments. And we do have we have cookies, and we have some fudge brownies after the event. Please stay and have some. If you want to take some with you, please do that. That's what they're for. Well, now would be a good time if you want to get some. You already had two. Okay. Well, a couple of things I want to say something about. Another thanks is to the Clackamas County Literary Arts Commission. We are the recipient of a grant from the Clackamas County Arts Alliance. And so a big thanks to them. This program is partially supported by that grant. We do have some flyers for the season, so they are back there. Please pick up one. And if you do take one and you have some place that you want to put it up, that would be great. Because again, that's what they're for, and we want to get the word out. I think we have a couple of other announcements of things that are going on. So should we welcome the president of the Oregon Poetry Association? Is here with us today, and it's right here, Bob Serres. And so Bob is going to say a few words about something that's coming up.
Very, very few. I don't know how I became the president of the Oregon Poetry Association, and I don't know how I became the chairperson of the Literary Arts Committee of the Clackamas County Arts Alliance. I'm really surprised that I can actually say that in one breath, but I have. I expect there are one or two amongst you here who would like to receive $250. Anybody say no? Yeah. You can win $250 by participating in the writing contest of the Literary Arts Committee of Clackamas County. All you have to do is either work or live in Clackamas County, and come to me afterwards and I will tell you how to enter. First prize there are 4 genres: short story, essay, poetry, playlet. So whichever of those you fancy, these enter. First prize 250, second prize 150. Not bad, really. Yeah. So that is my announcement on behalf of the Literary Arts Committee. If there's anything you want to know about the Oregon Poetry Association, talk to me later. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, that's very, very right to give Bob a hand and would say thank you for stepping up into those into those opportunities. We know how it happened, but say thank you for doing it. Yes. I want to say a couple of things about two events we have coming up. Our March reader is Annie Lightheart. So Annie is going to be here on Wednesday, March 13th. That's at 6 p.m. And then we have a date change for our next event. And we have for a dozen years done a bilingual reading with the Almutanabe Street Starts Here Coalition. And these are poems read in two languages, Arabic and English. So the English poems are translated into Arabic, Arabic poems are translated into English. And that's been pushed back to Sunday, March 24th. So, and that'll be 3 to 5, and it'll be here, similar time, well, an hour earlier than this time today. But there'll be an announcement out about that. So we hope people can come and support hearing that. Arabic is such a beautiful language, and I know the first time we did that, it was really something that was an expansion for me. So we're here to celebrate Black History Month. A poem, I Too, by Langston Hughes. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. So, I Too by Langston Hughes. We have a wonderful featured reader today, and it's my pleasure to introduce a wonderful poet and my friend. Emmett is going to tell us about Black History Month a bit, and he's going to read his own work and perhaps work from other poets. He resides in Portland, Oregon, where he has twice been nominated for the Oregon Poet Laureate. His poetry has been published in several books, collections, anthologies, and one of them, As Clean as a Bone, was a 2019 Eric Hoffer Award finalist and a Vinci I Award finalist. He frequently speaks about poetry and recites his own work, including during the 50th anniversary celebration of the March in Washington, the Portland event, and as the keynote speaker for 2 Oregon Poetry Association's annual conferences. In 2020, Corban University produced a 9-part series documentary, A Brief History, that showcases Emmett's life and poetry. And the invitation says this can be collected by going here. And we can't do that tonight, but what you can do is check the emmettwheatfall.com for some more information about that and about Emmett's work. Would you join me in welcoming our featured reader today, Emmett Wheatfall? Oh, and silence your telephone devices if you would too.
Thank you, Tom Hogan. It is an honor to be here this afternoon, to be at the Ledding Library in Milwaukie. So many of you folks have come out to join with us, the Milwaukie Poetry Series, the committee, OPA, to celebrate Black history. And I'm very grateful for that. But I would be remiss this afternoon if I didn't let you know that my wife is with me this evening. We have been married for 44 years this coming June. Would you welcome my wife? I definitely want to thank Tom Hogan, his wife Jane, the Milwaukie Poetry Series Committee for asking me to feature here today. I have been a part of the committee a few years ago, and I really enjoyed it. And just to be able to see so many of your faces, I would call you by name, but I'd have to go through everybody in the room. So I think I will, you know how I feel about you. What I want to do this afternoon for this reading is, because we have an open mic schedule, and some of you have probably brought poems by famous Black American poets, I'm going to just center my poetry reading on my poetic work. And these are always tough to do, Sherry, because you're trying to figure out thematically, how do you want to move through the poems that you have? And given that our nation has decided to set aside this month to celebrate Black history, what I thought I'd do is take you through American history, but do it using my poems, because those of you in the open mic will read by other noted poets. But I thought you might be able to see my journey as a Black American poet. You'll be able to look at and hear through my own lens. And when I walked up earlier to the podium, to the dais, to just check the mic, and Tom is here, he had Langston Hughes's poem, I Too. If you don't know who Langston Hughes is, he's one of America's greatest Black American poets. He was around in what is called the Renaissance era of America in New York and those kind of and that surrounding area. And that's where Black culture, literature, art, dance, theater really exploded in American history. And some of our most noted performers came out of that era. But Langston Hughes wrote that seminal piece, I Too, and I was inspired by it. So I wrote a little slant to it. And it's called, I Too Am a Slave. Suddenly came the uproar from the dark garden, my father's uprooting. I am his son, a son of his sons, a distant son of sun and of the dark garden. Ferried in memoriam by prevailing winds, blistered by the salty sea, chained in the bottom of a seafaring vessel, then left to languish, firmly planted on the plantation in Master Wheatfall's garden, his lily white garden, where white is everywhere and most things white. I imagine Master's house white, with white fences, his white barns, his white wife, and their white daughters, dressed in white dresses under white umbrellas, and then his sons, white men, prim and proper, sons of the South, of the Confederacy. Widely known is the name Wheatfall. White is his name, Wheatfall. White is everywhere and most things white. My father's master gave him his name, Wheatfall. Was it a whisper? Was it done on a whim? When Master Wheatfall branded my father's father and me. Never could a slave so named be branded so gently. Unlike the prick of a pin, more so the scorch of a merciless flame, its singe still stings. I bear that name, a slave owner's name, a white man's name, Wheatfall. Wheatfall is my name. I am confused. I am angry. Who am I? What is my name? What was or is my father's true name? From that dark garden he was uprooted from. Are my ancestors buried there in that dark garden? Tom, I lament for who I am not and long for who I should be. For now I am a wheatfall, property of my father's master. I too am a slave, slave to the name Wheatfall. The legacy. Whose legacy? His? The slave master's? My father's legacy? What about mine? This gives rise to pause, to contempt, to contemplation, to anticipation, to revelation, to self-actualization. Although enslaved by the name of a slave, I had an emancipator, a redeemer, a deliverer, Moses, my Moses. I am my Moses. Free me, Moses, free me. Remove the stain of my name from me, Moses. Take me to the sea. Take me to the banks of the Red Sea. Part the waters, Moses. Part the waters for me, and I'll be free. I'll cross over with you. Moses, take me to the promised land. You, my emancipator, Moses. You, my redeemer. You're my deliverer. Langston Hughes said, I, too, am America. Langston, I, too, am America. Wheatfall is an American name. Therefore, I, too, am America. I'm free now. Free to make of me my name Wheatfall, that which I please. I am Black. I am proud. I am the son of my father's father. Yes, son of the dark garden. I am Emmett Wheatfall. I am a slave. But now I am equally free. Thank you. It's so wonderful to be inspired by the great Langston Hughes. I would encourage you to read his work. I opened up that one first because we have the horrid story of a people being taken from their homeland and brought to this country, and actually contributed to actually building its very foundation. And these people did not have their freedom. The Negro did not have their freedom. As a matter of fact, we were, my ancestors, 3/5 of a person. We were 3/5 because they needed to have equity in government, and the way to do that in the South. We know that the slave industry is, much of this nation was built off the back of slaves and indigenous people. And so I too am a slave addresses my connection with slavery in American history. I have a poem that talks about that horrid experience. Bloody red apple tree. If you're uncomfortable, it's good, because I'm going to be Black centric this afternoon. I'm not going to really talk about rivers and streams. I'm going to talk about culture and ethnicity and history. But I want to share with you a poem that's pretty powerful. Bloody red apple tree. Listen closely. Master, he treats his dog better than me. 3 times a day his dog eats, unchained, and next to that bloody red apple tree. Master lets him eat there for one reason. If I try to run like I was free, it's there. He's gonna hang me, then chain me to that bloody red apple tree. I hate my master, but I don't ever let him know it. Oh Lord, I sure enough bet not ever show it, because if I do, he's gonna hang me. So that's why I never run like a tree. Believe you me, that bloody red apple tree, it's always there to remind me. All day long and every day, I work in this here cotton field while master's dog eats on the lady's kitchen meal. All us slaves, we know we bet not run, cause master's dog, he ain't no ways dumb. He knows where his next meal is coming from. That's why from master, we don't try to run. So many slaves have been undone, cause in their head, freedom's bell done rung. It's rung when a slave's been in the sun too long. That's why master never chopped down bloody red apple tree. He lets it stand there just to remind me, Karen, if I run, he'll hang me from that bloody red apple tree. Believe me. That's American history. It is the plight of the movement. It's been a part of our early story in America. I want to move on a little bit in history, and I've been inspired. Anybody here heard of Ta-Nehisi Coates? The great, great intellectual of our day. How many of you ever heard of James Baldwin? James Baldwin. I like to mention James Baldwin because he's a great 20th century Black intellectual. He's just brilliant. His writing is great. He had that great debate, conservative, progressive debate with William F. Buckley, I believe it is. Some of you, you remember that, I guess. And so, but great intellectual. But Ta-Nehisi Coates is probably our James Baldwin today. And I was reading something that Ta-Nehisi Coates said, and he talked about the black body, the black body. And the bloody red apple tree is kind of references that. But I'd like to share this with you because I think it's really powerful. The purest form of Black beauty is to elevate the body of the naked Black woman. How else might an artist go about glorifying her Black body? Whether in or out of context, Black men continue to be killed with impunity. Given Ta-Nehisi Coates has stated, in America, it is traditional to destroy the Black body. It is heritage. Therefore, let the Black man, the artist, who elevates the naked Black woman be given to nakedness as well. For the beauty of the Black body is his strength. Less forgotten are our scarlet blue wounds. All of us pretty much pays attention to the media today, whether it's on a tablet or a smartphone, cable TV, the number of news periodicals we have. And we've watched historically how Black women and Black men have been killed in America, sometimes by unjust law enforcement actions. You think of people like Eric Garner, Breonna Taylor. I could go on and on and on of of Black bodies that have been destroyed unjustly. But I want to share with you a poem that I think you'll definitely remember. I don't think I need to call his name because I think it's going to come right back to your mind. A law enforcement officer put his knee on, I'll say his name, George Floyd. George Floyd. The poem is titled, Tom, 9 minutes and 29 seconds. Whenever I share this poem, Teal, I generally ask folks, on the count of 3, I'd like you to take in a big breath and I'd like you to hold it. And then let it go when you can hold it no more. 1, 2, 3. Take a big breath. Hold it. Raise your hand when you have reached your limit. There's a hand. Couple of hands going up. Some of you could be deep sea divers right now. We'll move on. Yeah, hands going up, pretty much here. 9 minutes and 29 seconds. I would like to march alongside protesters. My feet will not allow me to travel the distance. Although my mind is ready to walk this world over. In the distance, my heart beats in rhythm with every resolute shout. I can't breathe. Sitting, I could feel the earth move under my feet. Then comes a clarion call. At 3:45 p.m., remain silent for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I commit to not breathe. In no less than 35 seconds, Matt, I exhale, lightheaded. I see the light. My mother, she is dead. I did not call out to her. I should have. Rest in peace, George Floyd. Rest in peace. If you ever want to know about brutality to Black people in America, Dr. Martin Luther King's dream, poem, I Have a Dream, is just laced, with vignettes about brutality in America. But I want you to know that America has made progress. And, I always like to tell people that maybe things on race relations are not as bad as maybe we're told that they are, at least. Maybe it's not that bad. And how can you say that? Sergio, I think Ohio State and Michigan will get together in Ann Arbor or one of the other stadiums, and I think 110,000 people will get there. And Carolyn, they won't all be white. There'll be so much diversity among those 110,000 people, and nobody's trying to kill each other. One of the things that I really appreciate in my life experience as a young Black man is that I was born to a father and mother. My father was in the military. He was in the Army. And he served a tour in Korea as a young man. And he did 2 tours in Vietnam. I think I've told some of your story. He was leading his platoon through a rice paddy field and he stepped on a landmine. Click, years of experience taught him that I'm on something. So some of his other soldiers crawled up and it's a pressure device. Too much, too less. And they said, Sarge, we cannot undo this. And so he knew that it would explode cold, the way it would go like this. So he figured that the further out he got, the less he would be injured. And with great courage, he did it. And he was severely injured. And if you received that injury he had today, you would have a prosthesis. But fortunately, at Walter Reed Hospital, they said, we believe that we could save your leg. And so they did. The reason why I'm telling you that story is because many of us know in World War I and World War II, when a Black soldier came home from war, German soldiers who were taken prisoner stayed in quality accommodations and ate at the restaurant, the diner, where the Black soldier in uniform could not. I never heard my father speak a negative word about his country, although he too was mistreated. And he would not tolerate racism in his home among his children. And I want to let you know, by virtue of that experience, the integration of the United States military, even though I was never in the military, I got an opportunity to live on Okinawa, 200 miles off the coast of Japan. I'm the original Karate Kid. I took karate in a dojo in a village. Ralph Macchio didn't have anything on it. But to experience the different cultures and live in different parts of the world and different parts of the country gave me a world view. All of us know about the civil rights era, the civil rights time, and great gains were made. Black people weren't the only benefactors of the civil rights movement, and we must acknowledge the contribution of other white folk, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, Bayard Rustin, a marcher in Washington, he coordinated that. Dr. King stands at the base of the Washington Monument and delivers one of America's great clarion calls. But it seems like when we moved out of that era, it seems like things, how many of you felt like there was a time maybe in the 70s where things, you get Earth, Wind and Fire and Elton John, and we came through a kind of era where, it just seemed like things were kind of getting better and people were getting along. But you still remember Mississippi, the South, one of the most hotly contested areas, states in the Civil War. So I wrote a poem, Jane. Check this out. Mississippi Mixed Girl. Mississippi Mixed Girl. I've been to Mississippi. Not the Mississippi that precedes me. No other great state of Mississippi, but North Mississippi. The Mississippi that crosses North Skidmore and Fremont Streets. That Mississippi. There I met this mixed girl. More than once, I hung out with this mixed girl who liked Black boys. Me, I was as black can be. That's why she really liked me. When we hung out on North Mississippi, between North Skidmore and Fremont Streets. Mixed girl had a white mama. She too really liked me. Her daddy was black like me. He too was as black can be on Mississippi, where I hung out with mixed girl between North Skidmore and Fremont Streets. Her mama thought of me dearly. Her daddy, the epitome of insincerity. Tom, because her mama used to like Black boys too. Black boys who looked like me when mixed girl and I hung out, because I was as black can be on North Mississippi. Mixed girl could really shake her thing. Me and mixed girl had no shame. Me and mixed girl played the game until one day Daddy called me out my name because I was black as black can be, even though he too was as black as me. When mixed girl hung out with me. And that brought everything to an end. Because mixed girl's daddy, who too was as black can be, didn't want her liking a black boy like me, who was as black can be, when mixed girl and I hung out on North Mississippi. So I tell everybody, Bob, I've been to Mississippi. You know, one of the challenges that I think people don't realize, I was on Flipboard today, and it's a news aggregator. Some of you know Flipboard is. You can read a lot of the national news and international news. And one of the articles expressed that the 25 greatest movies in American history. So I was curious. And Sergio, I started to scroll down through them. I got down to about 10. None of the movies had anybody that looked like me. And I began to wonder, I said, well, gee, weren't there any great black movies in this 25? When I got down, make you guess what movie I ran into? 12 Years a Slave. I'm looking at this man, I'm like, wow, you got to be kidding me. You mean to tell me 12 Years a Slave? I remember, Colonel, when I grew up, I used to watch Knights, but the Knights didn't look like me. I used to watch the Cowboys, and the Cowboys didn't look like me. I would see, you know, Fred Astaire dancing, but he wouldn't be dancing with anyone that looked like me. You would see love stories, you know, The Graduate, you know, and you didn't see anybody that looked like me. And there finally came out a movie that first time I saw, to me cinematically, where it wasn't about lust. It wasn't about two people jumping in the sack, rolling around in the hay, but you could just see the chemistry of the love between the two blacks. Black love. Black love. I just finished watching a movie featuring black love. Black love moves me. I fell hard for it. Rarely, if ever, do I get to watch black love. I could feel myself aroused by his and her affection. His press against her tender lips, the voluptuousness of her full-bodied afro. I have held a black woman's body in my manly arms, felt the press in the lower seam of her back as she leaned back to you. I rejoiced in that there was no sex scene. The director left it to my imagination. It's rare for me to see in cinema black love. It was every bit an encounter of the heart. He offered her his mother's wedding ring. At that moment, I was him and he was me. No one knows the fervent love I have for the black woman, and I have one for 44 years. After 44 years of fidelity to a black woman, I have found loving that black woman more than enough. The movie, The Harder They Fall. I fell hard for it. It's a wonderful Western. It was just, and I had to, that's how we get, we see these things, you know? I talked about that on my TED Talk. You know, we see something, you know, we hear somebody say something, we wake up in the middle of the night, we write it down. I have some great neighbors. Sergio is our new neighbor. Would you give Sergio and his that's a great hand? He sees the light on, and he probably knows when I'm writing because the light is on in that particular room. I've got a couple more poems. Am I doing okay? I've got two more because I want to make sure that there is time for those folks who come who would like to share their poems. I don't like doing that. I don't like going longer than what the time has been allocated. I know what it's like to sit there and be waiting in the person. I hope I've paced this very well for you. I had the privilege of being the first Black county administrator in Oregon, assistant in Oregon for Clackamas County. And I remember when I got that promotion and I moved from the third floor to the executive floor. And I remember walking down the hall because there was a water fountain. And I looked at that water fountain. And at that time, I think Clackamas County was, maybe something like 143 years old. And I said, I can drink from this water fountain. Yeah. And I leaned over and took a cool drink of that water fountain before I went into the executive suite where my office was for about 4 years. One day, I had to go to the restroom. And I didn't really kind of know my way around the executive suite. And I remember her name was Mary, and Mary Rathke, and I said, I'm heading to the restroom. She said, you know, you could use the commissioner's restroom on that floor, in that suite. And I didn't know that. And I gotta tell you, I walked there and it wasn't unisex, it was men and women, but I remember pushing on that door. And I remember just the significant, nobody else will experience that moment but me. For me, all of it rushed to me back. And I had thought about that in poetry. And I'll be honest with you, not that I wouldn't be, but I don't know why I needed to preface that way. Poetry has not always been welcoming of me, sometimes of Black poetry, even here in Oregon. Just telling you the truth. And I'm floored by that. Because what I want you to know, it is the most freeing thing I know. I said in my TED Talk, I could be on a boat on the Yangtze River. I could be an Irish boy in love with Irish girls. I could be a tree, but I can go to antebellum. There is nothing that restricts me. I can go anywhere I want to go. That's what poetry does for me. And it saddens me that we're not more inclusive here in Oregon of Latino poetry, Cuban poetry, and Latin American poetry, and Middle Eastern poetry. Just we ought to be that. Mel, my friend, she is so wonderful. She knows what I'm talking about. It is just so encompassing. I know what it's like. I remember what it was like, no colors allowed. I remember being in the backseat of my parents' car. We're going to North Carolina. Welcome, big billboard. Welcome to, I believe it was Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of the Ku Klux Klan. I'm a kid sitting in the backseat of the car. I loathe racism. I loathe isms. Poem is titled No Blacks. Karen, no blacks. Being a Black poet, I was knocking at a door that would never let me in. Eventually, I realized there was an invisible sign that said, no Blacks allowed. Then, Tom, it occurred to me, there was another door. Bob, a bigger door. A door that held access to a larger world, a bigger galaxy, with more stars, Sherry, and bigger planets, and a universe with my name assigned to it. And the acceptance there twinkles in my eyes. That's what I love about the Milwaukie Poetry Scene. Because there's no sign that says no blacks. From the day I met you, now it's what, over a decade, I guess, now that we have been friends, you and your wife, Jane. I just want to tell you, thank you. You made a space and a place for me. And as a result of that, I'm known nationally and internationally. I've got lyrical poetry played all over the world, but I never boast or brag about it. I have the statistics, the data. Europe, Asia, Korea, just everywhere. It's been a wonderful thing that you've done. Thank you for doing Black History. My last point. I don't want to go too long, right? My last point. I don't think I've really achieved a whole lot. I saw a powerful quote. It said, the problem in the world is everybody wants to be famous. And I think what I've come to learn early on is that I'm not chasing fame. I'll tell you, there's no fortune in poetry. Trust me, there's no fortune in poetry. I give away more books than I buy, than I sell. But I've just settled as if a soft landing on the moon. Love the art, work at it, master craft. Then where you get an opportunity to share it, every now and then your umbrella opens and somebody acknowledges you or something like that, but it probably never going to be a Toni Morrison, never going to be a Maya Angelou, never going to be a Mary Baraka, probably not. But as long as I'm true to the art form, study, sharpen my pencil, and get an opportunity every now and then to share with people like you. My last point. The poem is titled, An Unremarkable Negro. An unremarkable Negro. To the Negro, history has not been kind. If this Negro's history is his story, follow the line that precedes me. Follow that unimaginable journey from humanity to inhumanity, from dignity to indignity. And yet, from the grave, Langston Hughes shouts, I too am America. From the grave, James Baldwin shouts, I am not your Negro. From the grave, Maya Angelou shouts, still I rise. While I, an unremarkable Negro, a Negro of continuing origin, a Negro following, Carolyn, the line that precedes it, to whom history has not been kind. Thank you so much. I feel so honored. Thank you. To those who are not video, thank you. Very kind. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Emmett. Again. Thank you for being here. Thank you for reading and sharing with us. That was absolutely wonderful. So what a way to celebrate Black History Month. And as Emmett said, we have an open mic opportunity now. And Kristen, could you bring up the open mic list? Yes. I feel like, what was the show? There was a show and someone says, "And the envelope, please." That's right, it's the awards. So, and how we're gonna do this is, we'll go in rounds. And so we have 5 people signed up, and we'll read 2 poems each, in the first round. And then we'll see where we are and see how much time we have left. And if there's time, then we will go another round. And the people that have signed up so far, and I listed them as they contacted me. So that put Bob Sterry first, and my lovely wife Jane, David Filer, Mary Detman, and then me. And is there anyone who is not on the list who would like to read? Teal? Teal and Anna Louise?
One poem.
Okay, one is good. Nancy Lee. How nice to see you and have you here. And so that gives us 8 so far. So I will ask again as we go along, and if somebody decides that they would like to read the poem, a poem, there's certainly an opportunity to do that. So again, what we'll do is we'll start and we'll read 2 poems. And why don't you introduce yourself just a little bit? And you can tell us a little bit about the poem if you want to. So let's welcome our first open mic reader tonight. And we've already met him. Bob Sterry. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Tom. I pity the poet who has to follow Emmett Wheatfall. No fair. I'm not going to say anything about myself, but I will read this piece, which is a prose piece. And sometimes I write prose pieces and then I turn them into poems. And sometimes I write poems and I turn them into prose pieces. There's something weird about the boundary between prose and poetry. And it's a very hot topic of discussion amongst serious poets, and I am not one. This piece is called Remote Outrage. I went to the Black Lives Matter meeting in the park in our town one Tuesday night, actually this town, Milwaukie, sometime after George Floyd was murdered by a police officer. There were speakers of all ages addressing a crowd of 300 or 400. There was enthusiastic and noisy support for the spoken words. When the speeches were done, we lined the sidewalks of the highway that passes to the west of the town and shouted and waved signs. And then, once the event was over, I returned to my nice, comfy bourgeois house and poured myself a drink. Until I start a more active and involved plan that might actually add to what appears to be a movement in the country, my outrage is remote and useless. It shames me to say this, but I already knew of the hideous level of injustice, not to mention violence, that African American and other minorities suffer day to day. I already knew and was thinking, surely someone else with more power, with better words and networks could do the job that obviously needs doing. I already knew. And since I am nothing if not an average white man, I guess most, if not all, the white folk at last night's meeting had thought the same. And if that is true, then nationwide we number in the millions. We are all remotely outraged and desperate to know what to do. It is not going to be easy to reverse the accumulated injustices of hundreds of years that white power and privilege has heaped on African Americans, Hispanics, Chinese, and other Asian minorities who built this country. The scars are on both sides. Minorities bear them most painfully in every part of their daily lives from the day they are born. We, the white majority, are lessened by our inactivity, by the far less painful effects of remote outrage. We should be and could be more, and somehow collectively chose not to. We have chosen to be, in a way, absent. We can blame our leaders. But unless you live in Russia or China, your leaders reflect, albeit at a distance, your wishes. How else can so many racist politicians continue to be in power? And so my first step is to acknowledge all of the truths, all of the uncomfortable truths that I buried and ignored, making me a smaller man. There will be more steps, many more, but I have to start somehow. So here's a short poem from my book, The Bob Sterry School of Burglary. It's called Oregon Spring. I think we're in a second fake spring this week, right? Oregon Spring. It's the contrast that stuns. So green against the low gray clouds of an Oregon spring, as deciduous leaves lighten the evergreen backdrop. But the sky reflects an earlier month when the low gray and soaking clouds hung over the curbside coffee drinkers, pretending that 45 is 65 degrees. Thank you.
Jade, my lovely wife Jade, and then David.
Well, before I read two poems by Langston Hughes, I just am tempted to do something that hasn't been done before. So I took a class in Afro-Cuban dance at Reed, and it was fantastic. And there was a chant that we always did before we started the dances. And this has been quite a while ago, but I remember the chant and I just have to do it. I'll sing that. We always did that before we started. So this is a poem by Langston Hughes. Should I drop it down? What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? And here's another poem by Maya Angelou, Caged Bird. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped, his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still. His tune is heard on the distant hill, for a caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on the dawn's bright lawn. He names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped, his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still. And his tune is heard on a distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom.
Well, thank you. It's kind of intimidating to try to find a poem in my own collections that would be pertinent and appropriate for tonight's reading, but what I did discover going through my bookshelves. Oh. Better?
Yeah.
Okay, I discovered a book that I must have had for a long time, but haven't been reading for a long time, by Lucille Clifton, called Blessing the Boats. So I'll read a couple of the poems of hers and read lots more of them after tonight. The first one is called The Times. It is hard to remain human on a day when birds perch weeping in the trees, and the squirrel eyes do not look away, but the dog ones do in pity. Another child has killed a child, and I catch myself relieved that they are white, and I might understand, except that I am tired of understanding. If this alphabet could speak its own tongue, it would be all symbol, surely. The cat would hunch across the long table, and that would mean time is catching up. And the spindlefish would run to ground, and that would mean the end is coming. And the grains of dust would gather themselves along the streets and spell out, these too are your children. This too is your child. That's called The Times. And the other poem I chose to read here tonight is called My Dream About the Second Coming. Mary is an old woman without shoes. She doesn't believe it, not when her belly starts to bubble and leave the print of a finger where no man touches. Not when the snow in her hair melts away. Not when the stranger she used to wait for appears dressed in lights at her kitchen table. She is an old woman and doesn't believe it. When something drops onto her toes one night, she calls it a fox, but she feeds it. Well, those are my two choices for tonight by Lucille Clifton. I recommend.
And Mary,
My turn.
your turn.
Okay. I'm getting damn old. Jeez. I too was drawn to Langston Hughes. This piece is rather long, so I'm only going to read one. It was penned in 1935 on a train ride from New York to Ohio. This poem might as well have been written yesterday. There may be no better time, no better anthem for these struggling, discouraging, despairing, hopefully inspiring, pivotal times, as once a heartbreaking witness to the gap between America's promise and its reality, and a stirring call for all of us to come together and live up to that promise in ambitious new ways. America will be. And the name of the poem, ear title, is Let America Be America Again. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America for me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great strong land of love where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man or woman be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man and woman driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man or woman full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab of land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men and women, or take the pay, or owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker, sold to the machine. I am the Negro, servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean, hungry yet today, despite the dream, beaten yet today. Oh, pioneers. I am the man or woman who never got ahead, the poorest worker bartered through the years. Yet I'm the one who dreamt our basic dream in the old world while still a serf to kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring sings. In every brick and stone, in every furrow turned, that's made America the land it has become. Oh, I'm the man or woman who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home. For I'm the one who left dark Ireland's shore, Poland's plain, England's grassy lea, and torn from black Africa's strand, I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions on relief today, the millions shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay and for the dreams we've dreamed and all the songs we've sung and all the hopes we've had and all the dreams we've hung and all the flags we've hung. The millions who have nothing for our pay except the dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be, the land where every man and woman is free, the land that's mine, the poor man and women's, Indians, Negroes, me. Who made America? Whose sweat and blood? Whose faith and pain? Whose hand at the foundry? Whose plow in the rain must bring back our mighty dream again? Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must take back our land again, America. Oh, yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me, and yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the rack and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains, the endless plain, all the stretch of these great green states, and make America again. Langston Hughes.
Thank you, Mary. And I was a bit remiss in saying welcome, Mary. Mary is, we have been doing a partnership with St. John the Evangelist for 12 years. And Mary's been our liaison and connection with the First Friday programs that we do May through October. So thank you. Glad you're here. Yeah. David mentioned that he was going to read more poems after this. And that's one of the things that I love about this, is that in preparing for this event, I read a lot of poems by Black poets. And so it's been great. The first one I'm going to read is the that's the featured poem today of the American Poetry Society. And it's by a poet named Leslie Pinckney Hill, who I wasn't aware of. And I want to tell you a little bit about him. And the poem is The Black Man's Bit, 1921. Black Man's Bit appears in Wings of Oppression by Leslie Pinckney Hill. In a foreword to his poetry collection, he wrote, "Nothing in the life of the nation has seemed to me more significant than that dark civilization which the colored man has built up in the midst of a white society organized against it. The Negro has been driven under all burdens of oppression, both material and spiritual, to the brink of desperation, but he has always been saved by his philosophy of life. He has advanced against all opposition to a certain elevation of his spirit. He is made strong in tribulation. He has constrained oppression to give him wings. In such poems as Armageddon, The Black Man's Bit, and Cora, I have desired to exhibit something of this indestructible spiritual quality," he says, "of my race. I trust that there may be in all this at least an implied appeal to that spirit of human brotherhood, by which alone the world must find its path to peace." 1921. Yeah. And here's the poem, The Black Man's Bit. "Oh, there's talk from school to pulpit, and the barber's place is rife, and the shoe shop and the supper table hum, with a tale of Dixie's black men who have shared the mighty strife for that freedom of the better time to come. Every mother's eye is brighter, every father's back is straighter, and our girls are tripping lightly in their pride, and none except a Teuton or a slacker or a traitor will the right to their elation be denied. They said they were too slow, too dull, to this and to that to do it. They couldn't match the method of the Hun. And then to arm 1,000,000, why, the land would surely rue it if 1,000,000 blacks were taught to use a gun. But Bride won out, and they went in, and all detractors smiling, They learned as quick as any how to shoot. They took the prize at loading ships and riveting and piling, and trained 1,000 officers to boot. And when they went, 'twas a boon no others had been bringing. For whether with a pick or with a gun, they lightened every labor with a wonder sort of singing, and turned the pull of battle into fun. Oh, the Frenchman was a marvel, and the Yankee was a wonder, and the British line was like a granite wall. But for singing, as they leaped away to draw the Kaiser's thunder, the swarthy sons of Dixie beat them all. And now that they have helped to break the rattling honey's saber, they'll trail the Swanee River back again to Dixie's home, the native song, and school and honest labor, to be as among them men among their fellow men. No special thanks or praise they'll ask, or clapping on the shoulder. They did their bit and won, and all men know it. And Dixie will be proud of them and growing a little older, and wiser too, and welcome them and show it. So you really see his belief in the path of brotherhood and his appeal to human brotherhood, and that being the way to peace. The second poem I'd like to read is another poem by Lucille Clifton, who I love, 1994. I was leaving my 58th year when a thumb of ice stamped itself hard near my heart. You have your own story. You know about the fears, the tears, the scar of disbelief. You know that the saddest lies are the ones we tell ourselves. You know how dangerous it is to be born with breasts. You know how dangerous it is to wear dark skin. I was leaving my 58th year when I woke into the winter of a cold and mortal body. A cold and mortal body. Thin icicles hanging off the one mad nipple weeping. Have we not been good children? Did we not inherit the earth? But you must know all this, all about this, from your own shivering life. 1994 by Lucille Clifton. Now we have Teal, Anna Louise, and then Nancy Lee.
Thank you, Emmett, for your honesty and your courage. I'm going to read a poem by Paul Laurence Dunbar, but first I'm going to read a little bit of his biography from this anthology, African American Poetry, 250 Years of Struggle and Song. This is a great collection. Paul Laurence Dunbar was born in 1872 in Dayton, Ohio. His parents had been born into slavery, and his father fought with the Massachusetts 55th Infantry Regiment in the Civil War. Dunbar was the only Black student at Dayton Central High School, where he was the class poet, and he was one of the first African-American poets to be published in this country. He died in 1906 of tuberculosis. He was 33 years old. And this poem by him is titled, We Wear the Mask. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes, this debt we pay to human guile. With torn and bleeding hearts we smile and mouth with myriad subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We smile, but O great Christ, our cries to thee from tortured souls arise. We sing, but oh, the clay is vile beneath our feet, and long the mile. But let the world dream otherwise. We wear the mask. And then I'd like to read a poem of my own, which is a tribute to Dunbar, and it begins with an epigraph of his from a poem titled A Career, the first line of which is, "Break me my bounds and let me fly. Break me my bounds and let me fly. I heard a carol from an egg. An unhatched bird was singing of the boundless open sky he knew was his by right. The will to fly cannot be crushed in feathered things. The herd may call a child's dream of flight absurd and wean him on the path of hope deferred. But chick or calf, you'll know him by his cry, break me my bounds. In February's darkness, death had spurred to Dunbar's side. His vision was too blurred by illness to perceive the hollow eye that fell on him. Death said, "It's time to die." But Dunbar only answered with this word, "Break me my bounds." Thank you.
Anna Louise.
So I'm actually a songwriter, not a poet, but songwriting is another form of poetry. Normally, I would be somewhere with my guitar, singing things, and the guitar would keep me going, and I would never be standing here saying something without a guitar. But I wrote this poem. I don't write many poems, and I don't know so much about poetry except what Bob teaches me and Emmett, because I listen to him all the time. But I wrote this and then I turned it into a song. And so I'm gonna sing it without my guitar. It's called If. And something about Emmett's words. I wasn't gonna do this, it just popped into my head, made me wanna do this. If I looked you in the eye, dropping my veil, if I let my light shine through, will you do the same? Will you do the same? If I let my shadow slide into the bowl, putting my darkness there for you, will you do the same? Will you do the same? If I let down my hair for you, if I bend my neck to you, if I bare my heart for you, will you do the same? Will you do the same? If I make a cradle here, right in my hands, warming my soul there for you, will you do the same? Will you do the same? No matter, I will.
Nancy Lee.
Hi, I'm Nancy Lee, and I've had the privilege of being on the poetry committee with both Tom and Emmett. And I've attended many workshops, written many poems. And if I remember correctly, Emmett and I were in a class. I don't remember if it was Sage Cohen or Annie Lightheart, but we had a cue, a word, a prompt. And I believe that Emmett's prompt was harmonica. Annie Lightheart. The poem is titled Coffins, and if I can be so bold as to read from his book, Clean as a Bone. I didn't ask your permission. The poem is Coffins. Why call to me as if from a grave in a manicured field? You being yellow encasement, elongated, pristine and polished, reminiscent of a coffin housing someone loved, someone recently departed. Singularly a past life. Please note, I've seen closed caskets before, fastened shut by funeral directors. Coffins situated in sanctuaries aptly called chapels. Coffins are never counted in actuaries. However, coffins are placed in either open or closed graves. This marine band yellow box with its silver harmonica inside, as if in sanctuary, summoned me. I opened the marine band yellow box, whereby subconsciously it suggested, play a tune for me. I'm not dead. I just need some fresh air. And the next one is titled Separate but Equal. Separate but equal. Stationary is open space. Stationary in open space is the usual. Common, the withstanding. That's all there is. Nothing's misunderstood. The chairs, that table, the white salt shaker, that black pepper shaker, separate but equal. Nothing's misrepresented. Nothing's misunderstood. Soon, seated is a white woman and a black man. Stationary in open space is the unusual. Common, the outstanding. That is not all there is. Everything's misunderstood. The seating, that table, the white woman, that black man, separate but equal. Everything's misrepresented. Everything's misunderstood.
So is there anyone who has not read a poem that would like to read a poem? Okay. You want to come on up? And why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Good evening, everyone. My name is LaMesa Cole. And I have been in Portland for a little over a year. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, originally Mississippi area. My journey has been a very inspiring one, very, what's what I'm saying? A very inspirational one. And I just recently moved again in this area. And Oregon in general is a very beautiful state. And I've had many challenges. I risked everything to come here. I lost everything and I risked everything to come here, well, the shirt and the luggage off my back. And have built myself up to this point and still going higher. I recently got married last year, and unfortunately that marriage is short-lived. So this poem, I'm not really a poetry writer per se. I am a performer, just like you said you're a singer. I'm a singer. Because of me and my soon-to-be ex-husband, we had he's a songwriter and I'm a vocalist. And I would never have, if anything comes out of it, I realize that I have talent. I've always known I've had talent in this arena. And I hope to being here to succeed and go higher and higher and because I've always felt I was meant for greater. I'm filled with greatness. And this poem kind of, how should I say, it's not your normal poetry that you've all been reading. And so I just hope that taken from this, it's that having gleaned what I've learned and I've grown from the experiences that I've been here, that, you know, hopefully you will like this poem. And it's, you know, when you leave here, food for thought. It's called You Lose, Sucker. The writing was on the wall the moment you said, I do. An illusion created only by you to pull unsuspecting victims in your broken worldview. I was created by love, for love, to love, and to be loved unconditionally, not by my parents, but by the unseen forces of the divine cosmos to bring alignment into motion. How dare you discard me after making a commitment to love, honor, cherish, and heal, but behind those eyes and mind, never meant to reciprocate forever, but callously over time, intentionally purport to control every move I make. Set me up to crush me later and walk away, hands innocent and unclean. Your heart in love with another while holding up the actor's mask, deceiving me after the vow has been made, to feel superior in thinking your half-hearted attempts can go on, and I be fooled for years and years, but it's been only months. Smart is as smart does. Oh, I am of above average intelligence and emotional EQ, and you knew it. I broke the curse, a generational curse of women staying in abusive marriages or entanglements. You knew I have power and a force to be reckoned with, but have little money, resources, or means. I can heal myself, move mountains, silence critics with one smile. The glimmer in my eyes is the ninth wonder of the world. Your color means nothing to me, or your money, status of which you have none. I will rise like I always have to a level of success you will never attain. Because fools who despise a good heart to sabotage them were born to have bad karma. They get left behind. They get left behind. You lose, sucker. You lose, sucker. A poem, The Last Best Supply, an ex-wife. Go girl.
Is there anyone else who has not read a poem who would like to read a poem? Okay. Well, this has been a wonderful afternoon. It has. Thank you for being here. So the library closes at 6, so we will be involved in picking up, etc. Let's give Emmett a big hand again. Can we do that? Yay! There's some cookies back here. As I said earlier, please take some or hang around and eat for a while. Let's give ourselves a hand. Thank you for being here, everybody. Yeah. You're welcome. What a